Hello everyone. Today we'll talk about fasting. Fasting has becoming a very popular concept for a lot of people. And today we're going to talk about what is fasting, how it works in our body, so that you can understand how this practice can help you with your life and your health. So let's get started. Before we talk about the practices and the science behind fasting, let's first define the term. What is fasting? So fasting is by definition, is to refrain from eating. So usually during the period of fasting, you only drink food, tea, or mineral. Now that we have clarified the definition for fasting, let's talk about the concepts related to fasting. First, there are three types of fasting that you should be aware of. By intermittent fasting that people usually talk about, they're actually referring to time-restricted feeding. The concept of this type of fasting is you limit the hours of consumption and fasting. So you have a time period where you eat food and another time period where you refrain from eating completely. And this is what people usually call intermittent fasting. The second type is alternate day fasting. As the name suggests, alternate day fasting means that you alternate the days where you fast and when you consume. However, because of realistic reasons, people usually do eat during fasting days, so they will limit their calories to about 500 to 1,000 calories per day, depending on their body weight. The third type of fasting is intermittent fasting, which is the most strict style of fasting. As you can see here, intermittent fasting implies that you should fast for at least 24 hours at some frequency, which is intermittently. Let's say you can fast for a whole day in 2 weeks or 3 days in a month. So depending on what you want, you have complete freedom on that, except you need to fast for at least 24 hours or a whole day. Now that we talked about the types of fasting, let's talk about how it works on your body. In a biological lens, your body will consume sugar to provide you with energy. So sugar, another name for that is glucose. When the energy is stored in your liver, it is stored as glycogen. So glycogen, if you look at the word, it's very similar to glucose. It is a collection of glucose molecules. However, after 10 to 12 hours of fasting, your body will deplete the glucose or glycogen storage that you have. Therefore, your fat becomes the source of energy for your body. When fat becomes a source of energy, your body enters into a ketosis state where it produces a chemical called ketones. So what the ketone does is it will trigger BDNF, which is a compound that strengthens neural connections for areas related to learning and memory. So when your body enters into ketosis states from fasting, you can have better learning and memory functions. Now let's go into the benefits of fasting. There are three areas of benefits that I'm going to talk about here. First is the metabolic benefits, second, cognitive benefits, and third, physical benefits. For cognitive benefits, when your body undergoes starvation, your cells will collectively go into a response called coordinative stress adaptation. During this response, your body will start to repair your DNA, create or produce more mitochondria, which is the powerhouse for your body, and it will go through a process called autophagy, which is a process where your cells in your body starts to consume damaged cells. It's much like throwing out garbage in your house or getting rid of old furnitures. fasting can also provide benefits for your blood pressure, cholesterol, and help with insulin resistance. The second category, in terms of cognition, fasting practices can help you to improve mental clarity because you will have a low insulin level from insulin resistance that we talked about just now. It will also help you to have an improved learning and memory capacity because of the BDNF compound that got triggered from the production of ketone. The third category of benefit is your physical benefits. So here we're talking about how you will look aesthetically. First, fasting can help you to preserve lean muscle mass compared to if you just consume lower and lower calories, because during fasting period, you will have a spiked human growth hormone. The second benefit is that you will have potentially lower intake of calories. Even though you're fasting, you also need to be very careful of what you eat during the consumption period of your time, which we'll talk about in the section what to eat next. As you can see, now you know how fasting works in your body and the benefits associated with fasting. Here are groups of people who should be very careful about putting this practice into your daily routine because it may have a lot of risk for you guys. So please consult a medical doctor to get professional help before you determine to do any changes for your life. First group, if you're a diabetic patient, right? If you are a child, adolescent, or someone who are older than 70 years old, if you're pregnant, have chronic health issues, kidney issues, food disorder, if you just recovered from a surgery, or if you're underweight. So be very careful of putting a new practice into your daily routine. Let's go into what you should eat. If you want to put fasting as part of your practices in your daily life. First, I know it's very hard to stay disciplined in your consumption window, especially after a long hours of fasting. However, if you want real progress, you have to be very cautious on what to eat and your eating habits during this short consumption window that you have. First, you need to eat real whole foods. So you need to have protein and healthy fats in your diet. That means that you need to reduce the consumption of fried food. Even better, just don't eat fried food at all because it has a lot of unhealthy fats within it, along with processed meat, processed food. It's very bad for your body. You can have unprocessed carbohydrates. This is a plus. However, if you eat rice, noodles, or bread, eat it in moderation. It's also fine. Second, you should reduce your sugar and alcohol consumption. Especially sugar is a big part because sugar spikes up your insulin level. As we see before, during your fasting period, your insulin level is generally pretty low. If you have a lot of sugar in your consumption period, you'll spike up your insulin level and create a lot of chaos in your body, and you want to avoid that. Third, keep hydrated. Drink a lot of water, good practice for your day. Fourth, do not overeat. Try to overcome your temptation to overeat, especially after the fasting period. Know that you're doing this for your own health and for your own good, instead of just create a random practice that generates a lot of struggles for you. Now, after all of these, the most crucial part for you, if you want to put this into your practice, is what to do next. So here are some action items that I suggest for you to do and consider. First, if you have never fasted before, a common practice nowadays is 16-8, where you eat within the 8-hour window and fast for the rest 16-hour window. You can go into this progressively if you want to. Let's say you can fast for 14 hours and then eat in a 10-hour window, or even fast in 12-hour window and then eat on the in the other 12-hour window. Depends on your own preference, but gradually you want to go into that 16-8 schedule or even 18-6 for a longer period of fasting. In order to do that, you want to set a time to stop eating early in the evening. Let's say you want to implement a 16-8 schedule where you fast for 16 hours. Then if you stop eating at 6 p.m. In the evening, then you can start eating your first meal on 10 a.m. the next morning. Therefore, because you have a time that you set for stop eating, then you can have a time in the next morning for when you can start eating your first meal. Hope this is helpful for you. If you want to revisit any of the section, then please rewind the video and go into that section to revisit the points. I will also attach a PDF in the description section below so that you can have a reference, you can download it if you want to have a copy for yourself. Thank you very much for your time today, and hope you have learned something, and let's help improve our health, get a healthy body, and live a long life. Thank you so much.